politicians who serve by any means. AIPAC, Kofi, and all the companies.
When they're doing the wrong thing, you have to tell them they're doing the wrong thing and hold them accountable. I don't want my taxpayer money going to commit genocide.
AIPAC, I mean, this is historic, the amount of money they're expected to spend in this election cycle.
This is a right-wing organization. This is an extreme organization. This is a racist organization. And they're the ones trying to come in and buy this seat.
As for reaction, Bowman minces no words.
Hell no, man. I'm here working for the people of this district.
Yeah, the people they won't leave. What is threatening about divesting and want a piece. The problem isn't the protest, it's what they're protesting.
The video you just watched was posted by none other than Macklemore. So he is crushing it lately. Not only is he using his platform to speak up for Palestinian human rights, he's also directing his 2.1 million Twitter followers to support politicians like Jamaal Bowman, who supports a ceasefire. And he added, quote, AIPAC is spending millions to defeat Jamaal Bowman because he supports a ceasefire. He then provides people with a donation link, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And this endorsement from Macklemore couldn't have come at a better time, because a poll conducted by Emerson College found that Jamaal Bowman is actually losing to George Latimer by 17 points. Now, sure, 21% of people are still undecided, but I mean, that is such a massive deficit to make up. And if this holds, Jamaal Bowman will lose this race. Now, the reason why this is such a tough race for an incumbent like Jamaal Bowman is because AIPAC is spending more money on this race than they've ever spent on any race in the history of this organization. And the airwaves have been flooded with attacks on Jamaal Bowman in this district, and obviously they're starting to work. Now, additionally, a Politico analysis recently confirmed that AIPAC is by far and away the biggest source of GOP money in Democratic primaries, with nearly 50% of its donors also recently donating to Republican politicians as well. So any Democrat that accepts money from this genocide-supporting racist organization needs to be named, shamed, and confronted by their constituents, because this should not be tolerated by the base of the Democratic Party. Now, to be clear, when I say that AIPAC is racist, which is what Jamaal Bowman has also said, I'm not just saying that they're racist against Palestinians because I think that that's obvious, but they're also racist specifically because they're using GOP money to disproportionately target black and brown members of Congress. And candidates that they've recruited, like George Latimer, he's used dog whistles when talking about Jamaal Bowman, and on top of that, he's engaged in the same racism that Republican candidates have also engaged in against black members of Congress. But I'm going to let Jamaal Bowman explain for himself. This is an interview from Illuminati. Let's watch.
You've also had like these attacks, these mailers, right, where they've been darkening, literally darkening your image. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a classic racist attack in campaigns. It usually comes from right-wing Republicans, but it's coming from a Democrat, so-called Democrat now, who's running against me. But yeah, the mailer with the darkening of my skin to make me look scarier. But it hasn't only just been the mailer. It's also been, you know, after our first debate, there were people from my district commenting under my opponent's Facebook posts saying that they hope I have a stroke, and they referred to me as a thug. And he did not condemn what they said, and all he did was simply take it down. He also said that I take money from Hamas, which is a terrorist organization.
Right.
To which when someone told him to show proof, he sent them a Free Beacon article, which is the most right-wing, crazy, psycho article you could get. So you know the credibility there is shot, but you see where he's getting his information from.
Just to remind you all, we're talking about a Democratic primary here, where George Latimer, supposed Democrat, is darkening Jamaal Bowman's skin on mailers and accusing him of taking money from Hamas, which is incredibly stupid because Hamas doesn't have a lobbying firm or any influence whatsoever in American politics, but the goal here is to make Jamaal Bowman seemed like a scary terrorist. But this right here is the kind of gutter politics that AIPAC-funded Democrats are engaging in, and it's really not surprising. But that's not all, because pay close attention to what George Latimer said in this online debate.
And he will tell you that what we've done in White Plains isn't good enough. What we've done is accomplish things. What he's done is give speeches all across the country. And when you get as much money as you get from outside the district, your constituency is Dearborn, Michigan. Your constituency is San Francisco, California. It's not Harrison. It's not Tuckahoe. It's not Scarsdale. You're not even there to be part of the events of those communities. So I think, what has to happen in the next 2 years is you send somebody to Washington, a serious legislator. You know what I've done. You know what I can do. You know what I'll do when I come back home to connect with you.
Dearborn, Michigan is a majority Arab city, and Latimer here is claiming that Jamaal Bowman's focus is on them as opposed to his own constituents because, I don't know, I guess he has some secret dangerous agenda that he's not disclosing to his constituents. Listen, when you say that Jamaal Bowman is taking money from Hamas and you darken his skin in mailers to try to make him look like a scary black man, and you're also supporting a genocide against Arabs currently, I think it'd be insane to pretend like this isn't Islamophobia, because that's what this is. You're saying he's taking Hamas money and representing the Arabs in Dearborn, Michigan, as opposed to the people in New York 16. What else are we supposed to conclude when you make comments like this? But it's ironic that he called out Jamaal Bowman's outside donations because, as Brian Metzger points out, just 2% of Bowman's campaign contributions came from Michigan. Now, he adds that it's true most of Bowman's direct contributions are from out of state, while most of Latimer's direct contributions are far more local. But I do want to explore that a little bit more because outside funds from indirect contributions are telling us a different story. Common Dreams explains, despite Latimer's claims that Bowman was receiving outside money, it is he, the Westchester County official and former member of the New York State Assembly, who has benefited from the overwhelming majority of outside funds coming into the race, most notably more than $9 million from the United Democracy Project, AIPAC Super PAC, according to Open Secrets data. So it's incredibly ironic that George Latimer, of all people, is claiming that Jamaal Bowman doesn't actually represent the people of New York 16, considering the fact that George Latimer was quite literally recruited by a foreign government's lobbying firm to run in this district. So maybe he should ask himself who he's really running to represent, the people in this district or the government of Israel, because based on how much money he's taken, I think that's really debatable. AIPAC isn't just giving him this money because they hate Jamaal Bowman. They're giving him this money because they expect something in return. It's an investment, as is the case with all political contributions from special interests. And I say this because Thomas Massie, a Republican, maybe the only Republican in this cycle that AIPAC has actually targeted, gave us some insight into how much influence this lobbying firm has. And as you're going to see, it's pretty substantial.
And I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
that's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, "I'll talk to my AIPAC person." And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
It doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Now, the caveat, of course, is that it's Thomas Massie, so he's not necessarily the most reliable source here, so take what he says with a grain of salt. But what he's saying here is probably true because it's not really that surprising. Yes, it's shocking to hear that members of our government have a babysitter from the lobbying firm of a foreign country. That might shock people, but this has been going on for a very long time. Right? Lobbyists of special interests and whatnot, they try to form genuine connections with members of Congress, and they take them to lunch and they meet with them regularly. They stay in contact with them. So that way, when it's time to vote on a bill that affects them and their industry, you're not just voting against that industry, you're voting against one of your friends. And you wouldn't want to hurt your friend, would you? Like, that's one of the many ways that lobbyists are able to manipulate members of Congress. And you're probably wondering, well, are they really that stupid and gullible? Yes, they really are that stupid and gullible, right? Campaign contributions, lobbying, the friendships that they form with lobbyists, these are all things that get them to be complicit with what special interests wants, including what the government of Israel wants, since they have such a large lobbying firm. But Jamaal Bowman is one of the few members of Congress who doesn't have an AIPAC babysitter, because he's choosing morals over political expediency. He could have been safe and chose to not speak up and call for a ceasefire, but he did what was right. That's more than what you can say about 99% of people in Congress. So we absolutely cannot let George Latimer defeat Jamaal Bowman. So if you live in that district, please, for the love of God, consider getting out and knocking on doors for him. And if you're able to, chip in a buck or two, consider phone banking for Jamaal Bowman, because we have to protect the few members in Congress that we have that are actually bold enough to condemn genocide, which most members of Congress, they're not willing to do that. So the few that are willing to just be human and say what all of us are thinking, that genocide bad, we have to defend them. So we have to defend Jamaal Bowman and anyone else facing a challenger from AIPAC. And, even if it's as simple as sharing his policies on social media, do that, because any way we can spread the word, we're counteracting the influence of AIPAC, since they have completely bombarded the airwaves in that district with so much negativity about Jamaal Bowman. So any little thing that you can do to help, that is going to make a difference.